In the fall of 1968, the Chicago FBI office had first established a counterintelligence program against the Chicago Black Panther Party. The FBI believed that Fred Hampton's leadership and talent for communication made him a major threat among Black Panther leaders. It began keeping close ties on his activities, and investigations have shown that FBI Chief J. Edgar Hoover was determined to prevent the formation of a cohesive Black movement in the United States. Hoover believed that the Panthers, the Young Patriots, the Young Lords, and similar radical organizations that Hampton had forged in Chicago were stepping stones to the rise of a revolution that could cause radical change in the United States. Agents began closely monitoring the Panthers via wireless wiretaps of their offices and other means, and placed Hampton on the Bureau's agitator index as a key militant leader. The Special Racial Matters Squad organized to spearhead actions against the Chicago Panthers, and Roy Mitchell, the special agent for the squad, was the first person to approach William O'Neal while he was a prisoner at the Cook County Jail and recruited him to infiltrate the Panthers and provide information to the FBI. When the Chicago Panthers offices opened, O'Neal was already on the FBI's payroll and went to the office to join the Black Panther Party, seemingly as an eager recruit. O'Neal soon was appointed Chief of Security for the Chicago Black Panthers. The Chicago FBI worked very closely with local law enforcement, mostly through the offices of Edward V. Hanramer, who worked for the Cook County State's Attorney in November of 1968. Hanramer created the Special Prosecutions Unit, and starting in April of 1969, FBI agent Roy Mitchell worked closely with the state's attorney to target the Black Panthers. In June of 1969, the FBI began coordinating raids of the Chicago Black Panther offices, and a special squad of 9 Chicago police officers was assigned to report directly with the Special Prosecutions Unit, which in turn worked with the FBI's Racial Matters Squad. On the night of November 13th, FBI agent Roy Mitchell met with informant William O'Neal, and he helped map an exact layout of Fred Hampton's apartment, including the specific location of his bed and his nightstand. He asked O'Neal to keep tabs on who was coming and going from the apartment and help determine what weapons were being kept there. With this information, a raiding party of 14 officers arrived at Fred Hampton's apartment at 4:30 in the morning on December 4th to execute a search warrant for illegal weapons. The assault was quick and decisive. Within 15 minutes, Fred Hampton was dead, shot twice in the head while he laid sleeping in his bed. Peoria, Illinois Panther leader Mark Clark was in Chicago attending a statewide meeting of Panther leaders, and he was also killed. 7 other Panther members in the apartment were arrested on charges of attempted murder, aggravated battery, and unlawful use of weapons. Edward Hanramer told the police that the Panthers fired first and continued to shoot repeatedly despite warnings from the police that the police were at the door. The immediate and violent criminal reaction of the occupants in the shooting at the announcement of police officers emphasizing the extreme viciousness of the Black Panther Party. So does their refusal to cease firing at police officers when urged to do so several times. Panther survivors claim that the officers never knocked and came in shooting, and the Chicago FBI viewed the raid as a success due to the information of informant William O'Neal. There was an immediate outpouring of support for Hampton, Clark, and the Black Panther Party. Many members of the community's groups had called for an independent investigation of the incident, and Bob Rush, working with Fred Hampton's mother and father, arranged for an independent autopsy of Hampton. 3 doctors found that Hampton had been killed by bullets shot from an angle slightly above and behind his head as he was lying down. There were no powder burns on his hand, contradicting police claims that Hampton had fired at them. The Panthers used this public attention to organize support for their popular initiatives, offering tours of the apartment where Fred Hampton and Mark Clark had been murdered. In the following weeks, thousands of people, many journalists, flocked to the apartment to mourn the death and consider the evidence for themselves. Panther tours showed the unscathed walls where police had entered and where they reportedly stood during the raid. Then there were clusters of bullet holes and large pools of blood where the Panthers had been shot. Tours would continue until December 17, 1969, when the Cook County authorities halted them by sealing off the apartment. The National Black Panther Party understood and sought to portray the killing of Hampton and Clark as political assassinations, as part of a national government conspiracy to repress the Panthers. The Panther Chief of Staff, David Hilliard, declared that the organized attempt to destroy the Black Panther Party has been brought to the attention of the American people and the atrociousness of the American government. In terms of its subjects, people are moving for their freedom, and the very fact that they attacked us openly shows that they are brutal people and they are barbarous criminal elements against society. Tuesday, December 9th, 1969, Fred Hampton's parents, working with the Black Panthers and the SCLC, held a memorial service for Fred Hampton. About 5,000 people jammed into a church in Maywood and crowded the outside loudspeakers. Reverend Ralph Abernathy gave the main eulogy, declaring that the United States is successful in crushing the Panthers. It won't be long for they come for the SCLC, the Urban League, and what other organization trying to make things better. Bobby Rush asked for the mourners to challenge their sorrow into an act of support for the struggle. We mourn today, but we should be understood that his life was not given in vain, and there won't be any mourning tomorrow. Then all the sorrow was be turned into action. Following the memorial service for Fred Hampton, Hampton's parents sent his body home to be buried in Haynesville, Louisiana, where they had been born. On December 11, 1969, Edward V. Hanraman delivered to the Chicago Tribune an exclusive police photograph of Hampton's apartment, claiming that it proved that the Panthers had initiated the gun battle and had shown bullet holes where the Panthers had fired at police. But after further investigation, the New York Times reported that many of the photos did not represent what the subtitles had claimed. One depicted nail heads in the apartment's door jamb rather than bullet holes, and the other photo that police claimed showed bullet marks outside of the door actually depicted them inside of the door. Hanraman's deceit further fueled community outrage, and even moderate national black and political leaders began to support the idea of a public investigation. On January 6, 1969, Bobby Rush informed the press of the results of the blood test of Fred Hampton in an independent autopsy and revealed that he had a heavy dose of Sedanol, a drug used to induce sleep. Rush charged that Hampton had been killed as part of a government conspiracy, and Hampton had been drugged by an FBI infiltrator to help facilitate his murder. Hampton's fiancée, Deborah Johnson, who was 8 months pregnant at the time of Fred Hampton's killing and was arrested during the raid, later accounted Hampton's strange behavior on the night of the raid, stating that Hampton never got up in bed during the raid and remained silent. He woke up and lifted his head slightly as guns were being fired, but barely moved or said anything. After the first wave of shooting, police arrested Johnson and pulled her out of the bedroom into the kitchen. She said that she heard officers say that he's barely alive, but he'll make it. Then the police began shooting again, and the police said, well, he's good and dead now. On May 8, 1970, the state attorney Edward V. Hanraman dropped all charges against the 7 surviving Panther members arrested in the December 4th raid, stating that they had no proof that any defendants had fired at police. 1 week later, a federal grand jury issued a 250-page report finding that at least 82 bullets had been fired by the SPU officers and that only 1 shot had been fired by the Chicago Black Panthers. After more than a decade, the legal case, which went all the way up to the Supreme Court, the government eventually settled in 1982, agreeing to pay $1.8 million to the estate of Hampton, Clark, and the surviving Black Panther members, with the federal, county, and city governments agreeing to split the bill. This has been the life of Fred Hampton. If you like more stories like this, you can find those at onemikehistory.com. Also, hit the subscribe button, give us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. And if you'd like to support the podcast, you can do so at my Buy Me Coffee and my Patreon page, which you can find in the description below. And peace.